All right, let's talk about money. Today, we're going to go on a little journey, a financial roadmap, if you will, all the way from the second that paycheck hits your account to how you can actually make that money start building a future for you. So let's dive right in.
Okay, you know this feeling. You get the notification, payday, you've been paid $2,000. You're feeling good, right? But then you log into your bank app and whoa, it only says $1,456. It is one of the most common and honestly, one of the most frustrating feelings in the world.
So where did the rest of it go? I mean, it's a huge chunk of change that just disappeared. The answer to that question, that $544 question, leads us straight into our very first big idea.
First up, let's break down what happens with your paycheck and the bank. Because this is ground zero. It's the moment your money's journey begins and, spoiler alert, where some of it takes an immediate exit.
So that big missing piece of your paycheck? Yeah, a lot of that is taxes. And look, I get it. It feels like you're just handing over your hard-earned cash to some invisible entity. But taxes are, the cost of civilization. They're what pay for the roads we drive on, the schools in our neighborhoods, and, yes, even the health inspector who makes sure that your favorite taco truck is actually safe to eat from. Super important, right?
And the government doesn't just take one bite. It kind of nibbles in a few different places. You've got income tax, which is pretty straightforward. That's on the money you earn. Then there's sales tax on the stuff you buy. If you invest and make a profit, that's a capital gains tax. And then there are two big ones, Social Security and Medicare. The easiest way to think about these is like a forced savings account for your own retirement and future health care.
Okay, so after the government's taken its slice of the pie, what's left over finally lands in your bank account. But have you ever really thought about what happens next? Like, what does the bank do with your money?
You know, it's easy to picture a bank like something out of a fantasy movie. A giant vault, maybe a dragon guarding piles of gold with your name on it. But that's not really how it works. In reality, banks are more like financial matchmakers. Their whole job is to connect people who have money with people who need money. They're the ultimate middlemen.
So here's how that matchmaking actually plays out. Let's say you deposit $1,000. The bank doesn't just lock it up. Nope. By law, they only have to keep a small piece of it, a fraction, say $100. The other 900, they immediately lend that out to someone else. Maybe someone who needs a loan to buy a car or, a jet ski. The whole modern banking system is literally built on the idea, the trust, that we're not all going to show up at once and ask for all our cash back. All right, moving on to Section 2. Now we're going to talk about the unseen rules of money. Think of these as the invisible forces that are always at play, constantly pushing your money around, making it either grow or shrink. And if you don't know the rules of the game, well, it's pretty hard to win.
And probably the single most powerful rule in this whole game is interest. It's a double-edged sword. It can be your absolute worst enemy, or it can be your best employee. When it's working against you, like with credit card debt, it's brutal. That $12 burrito you put on your card can spiral into a $50 regret because the interest starts earning its own interest. But when you flip that around and make it work for you through investing, it's like your money starts making little money clones of itself while you're asleep. That's the beautiful, beautiful magic of compound interest.
Okay, next up, your credit score. And this is a huge one. We see this 3-digit number, somewhere between 300 and 850, and a lot of people make a big mistake. They think it's about how wealthy you are. It's not. It has absolutely nothing to do with how much money is in your bank account. A credit score is just a grade on your financial trustworthiness. It answers one simple question for a lender. If I give you money, how likely are you to pay me back?
So how do they calculate that trust score? Well, look at this breakdown. The biggest slice of the pie, by far, is your payment history. 35%. It all comes down to this. Do you pay your bills on time? That's the single most important thing. Right behind that is how much of your available credit you're using, so don't max out those cards.
And believe me, the impact this little number has on your life is massive. With a low score, say a 580, you're basically a walking red flag to any lender. That means you're going to get hit with sky-high interest rates or just flat out denied for loans. But a high score, a 750, suddenly you're sparkling with adult credibility. You get the best interest rates, easy approvals. It makes buying a car or a house so much easier.
Okay, so we've talked about your personal finances. Now let's zoom out, way out, and talk about the economic weather report. These are the huge, large-scale forces that you can't control, but you absolutely need to understand them. It's like knowing whether to pack an umbrella or sunscreen for your financial journey.
First on the forecast is inflation. Think of inflation as a silent thief. It's this sneaky force that slowly makes your money less valuable over time. Your $5 bill will always say $5 on it, but what it can buy shrinks. Year after year, that same $5 gets you a little less coffee, a little less gas, and yeah, fewer packs of instant noodles.
And if inflation is a slow drizzle, then a recession is the big thunderstorm. Now, the technical definition is when the economy shrinks for at least 6 months straight. But what does it actually feel like? Well, for everyday people, it means jobs can disappear, spending dries up, and just everyone gets really, really nervous.
The thing is, these things tend to happen in a predictable cycle. And a great way to think about it is like a big party. First, you have the boom, the music is blasting, everyone's dancing, times are good. Then you hit the peak. That's kind of like last call for drinks. After that comes the bust. The music stops, the bright lights flick on, and everyone's like, oh man. And finally, you have the reset. That's the morning after, when you've got to clean up the mess and get ready for the next party.
Okay, so we've covered taxes, how banks work, economic storms. It's a lot, I know. So the big question is, what are you supposed to do with all this knowledge? Well, that brings us to our final section, how to put your money to work and actually use this stuff to build your future.
Remember that silent thief we talked about? Inflation, the one that's always eating away at the value of your cash? Well, the best way to fight back, the best defense you have, is investing. This is the crucial pivot point. It's where you stop just trading your time for money and you make your money start working for you. So what can you actually invest in? There are a few main options. You've got stocks, which are basically just tiny little slices of ownership in a company. There are bonds. That's like you loaning money to a government or a big corporation, and they pay you back with interest. You can get into real estate, buying property, or a really popular option is funds, which are just big baskets that hold a mix of different stocks and bonds, so you're not putting all your eggs in one basket.
And when you boil it all down, investing, and really our entire economy, runs on one simple but powerful idea, perceived value. I mean, think about it. Why does a Gucci handbag cost $4,000 when a Target one that holds the exact same stuff costs $40? They're both made of fabric, a zipper, and some thread. The difference? People believe the Gucci bag is worth more, and that shared belief, that collective agreement on value, is what gives everything from a dollar bill to a share of stock its power.
And that leads me to maybe the single most important piece of advice in all of this. Wealth isn't built in days. It's not about some lucky stock pick or a get-rich-quick scheme. It is built over decades. It's about patience. It's about letting that compound interest we talked about do its magic over a long, long time.
Which really brings us full circle to the ultimate asset, the one thing you can never, ever earn back, your time. Money you invest when you're young has an incredible, almost superpower-like ability to multiply over the years. So the final question I want to leave you with isn't just about your money. It's about your time. How are you investing it?